G'day, welcome to today. We're doing a F14 RIO radar tutorial. Now there's a couple of different things we need to be looking at today. We've got the DDD, the TID, we've got some controls for the TID, some basic radar controls here, radar modes, antenna elevation, switches for targeting and Phoenix, and we'll go through the rest of the stuff that we need. For now, we've got a whole bunch of contacts, both friendly and hostile, about 200 miles on the nose. So let's go through the different modes. We've got PD search, which is a pulse Doppler search mode, which is a very long range, but doesn't give us range info. It only tells us closure, and it only appears on the DDD. RWS is a medium range wall search. It's got better range than TWS, and it will start putting stuff on the TID, but not a track, so we can't select it and we can't fire missiles. Pulse search is what you'd see on older aircraft, and it will give us range, and it's a pretty good range search mode, almost as good as PD. Range is controlled by these buttons, unlike anything else. Then we've got TWS manual and TWS auto. The only difference between these two is whether the antenna position is controlled via these knobs or via the tracks that it's found. So we know there's targets on the nose, so the first thing we're going to do is go to PD search. And we go to PD search because it's a long range search mode, and it will give us an idea as to the azimuth and the closure velocity. So the way the pulse Doppler works is that the radio waves change frequency when they bounce off something that's moving relative to you. So if you see a different frequency, you know there's a different velocity. So now, to really find these contacts, what we want to do, bring the azimuth scan down, because we know they're pretty well on the nose. So we've narrowed down the azimuth scan, we've also narrowed down the elevation scan. And although the data won't be shown on the TID for a contact, we can still use this cursor to tell us the elevation that the radar can search. So if we half action and move the HCU, the cursor will move. And these numbers on the side, without half action, tell us at the range we've got selected here, the maximum and minimum altitude. If we have half actioned, it will tell us where the cursor is, the maximum and minimum elevation. So 32,000 feet to 0, well there we go, up 0.9 degrees vertical elevation gives us between 0 and 53,000 feet, apologies, at 200 odd miles. So we're just going to look at the DDD, which is where our PD targets will appear, and we will wait till we can see them. Now, while we're waiting, we can have a look at this aspect switch. Now, having a look at this switch will change the display between 0 knots closure there, 200 knots going away from us there, 200 knots closure, 400 knots, 800 knots, 1000 knots on nose. Beam is 0 knots, 100 knots, 300 knots, 500 knots, and the same down. And tail is similar to nose, except the other way around. So 200 0, 200 knots closure, and then up to 1000 knots, or yeah, up to a lot of knots leading. This switch is the X4, which, if there's extremely high closures, it just times all the numbers by 4, hence the X4. And the VID, I think, is a function that is no longer used, because I'm pretty sure it was meant to be used with the IR ST that was on the original A models. Now, these two switches are not implemented. This switch is implemented with Phoenix TWS tracks, and controls how long before impact the Phoenix should go active. small will reduce the time before impact it goes active, and will give the target less time to respond to a missile shot, or a missile going active, sorry, but is less likely to pick up. Large is exactly the opposite, normal's the middle of the two. MLC is the main lobe clutter filter, which essentially is the zero velocity clutter filter. So by default, if the radar is looking more than 3 degrees up, the main lobe clutter filter goes out. In auto, up will turn it on automatically, or force it on, sorry, and down will actually turn it off. So if we're down and we're flying over terrain or something that will return radar, we'll actually see the ground. So if there's a contact that has no closure velocity, going to MLC out will allow you to pick them up in a pulse Doppler mode. And these are the pulse Doppler modes: PD search, range roll scan, TWS, and of course PDSTT. And the reason, so pulse search will still pick up something, will still pick up everything, with main lobe clutter in auto or on, but PD search has got better distinguishing of contacts. So because we still haven't picked the targets up in PD search, I'm going to have a look at pulse search. So keeping it at 200 miles. I'm also going to turn the erase down. So the erase is how long before a brick on the DDD is erased. So if it's all the way down, bricks will stay there for the longest, which allows you to get a better picture if there's something there, but will give you a worse picture of where it is because you can see the trail behind them. An erase all the way up means they'll almost instantly fade. So I'm going to turn that down. Pulse gain, we can turn it up, but I haven't found it to be massively useful. Pulse video, again, I haven't found that to be useful ever. Brightness is obviously useful at night. You can also click on the DDD and it puts a filter on it. For the TID you've only got brightness adjust, so it's not uncommon for a night mission to have the filter and minimum brightness. So now we can start seeing contacts in PD search. So we're seeing guys slightly to the left. We've got a beam. We've got a closure on them. Okay. Now there's a few things we can do from here. We can try getting them in RWS, which has almost the same range, but not quite. So still disappearing. We can call out to the pilot where we want them to fly to get them on the nose. Or if we put the cursor to RDR, and we move these captain's bars over where the target is, we can try and get a pulse Doppler STT. So again, it needs to be a pretty strong contact to get an STT, but you should be able to get an STT from further range than you can get an RWS search. So we'll try pulse search now. We'll speed up the erase to get rid of all the pulse Doppler contacts. Now they're within 100 miles now, so I'm going to go to 100 miles. Still not seeing anything on the radar on pulse search, so let's try RWS. Oh, so we've got a contact in range while scan, and as you can see on the TID, so go back to TID cursor, we've got contacts, but I can't select them because they're not at the track, and we also cannot fire a Phoenix. So we've got 4 Phoenixes selected, master arm is on, but we can't fire a Phoenix because they're not tracks, they're only ranges. So we can try TWS auto. Okay, so we've actually got them in TWS auto, which is good. Now, what we want to do is we want to hook one of them using the TID, and then we're going to press the IFF button and see how we can see 2 bars in the middle here, that means they're friendly. So we're going to mark them as such, and do the same to this guy. Friendly. So friendly means we won't attack them with missiles. So there's a few different markings that we can have. Friendly, unknown, hostile, do not attack, which will obviously do not attack, and oh, so we've got them as friendly. So we've lost those contacts. Let's have a look at this guy. So we're again getting a friendly IFF return. So we'll check friendly up. So the pilot can only see the TID. So if you want to show the pilot something, you have to be in TWS or RWS. There's no point being in any of the search modes. But we are going to go back to pulse search. Widen the azimuth. Again, erase all contacts. So I just want to show you how pulse search works. We set the range up the top here. Okay, so they should be about 54 miles away. Now, let's try PD search here. There we go. So we've got heaps of them on PD search. We'll get a PD STT this way. So now we've got a PD STT. Again, we can IFF, returning as friendly. Let's try getting an STT from TWS. So from any mode, you can use the DDD cursor. From TWS though, if we select a target, we can then press either PD or Pulse STT. PD works for contacts with high closure rate, and Pulse works for contacts at lesser range. Now you can see closure rate by this trail. Now the trail points or gives you their velocity relative to you. So if it goes small or it goes horizontal, then they don't have a good closure rate on you. So let's try IFFing a few of these guys. Friendly. Oh, so see how that one's not receiving a dual bars, it's only giving us a single bar? That means they're a hostile. Oh. That one's also a hostile. That one's a hostile. That one's a hostile. Okay, that cross that we saw through it meant that we'd lost track on that target. Okay, Uki, do you want to bring us around to engage these hostiles?
Copy that.
So, we want to have a look on these range bars. The computer calculates that the maximum range of our selected missile is this dot. The best effective range to launch them at is this bar. However, the computer is not great. So we actually will launch at somewhere between 35, probably about 30 miles due to the recent update to the Phoenix, reducing its kinetic performance but leaving its guidance. Now the other things we can see about contacts. We've got numbers on the right indicate the priority for launching. So this contact here is priority number 2. So the second Phoenix we launch will launch on this guy. We can change that with the next launch button. The number on the left is the approximate angels. So 2 is anywhere from 15,000 to 25,000. As you can see, just under 25,000. If we hook a contact, we get... Let's try that again. Hook a contact, we get range, bearing, LT, I don't know what LT is, and altitude. So let's have a look. This guy down here is a friendly. This guy here is a hostile. So I'm guessing this group's hostile, hostile, hostile. So now we have missile 1, 2, 3 and 4 all be going to these potential contacts. This button over here is the track hold, which just allows the radar to interpolate the tracks, so where they're going and how fast they're going, if we lose radar contact, which allows us to get a missile to continue firing at them. Now we're 38 miles, so we're getting close to engagement range. So we want to make sure we don't have Phoenix active selected. It's only got an effective range of about 16 miles and is quite dangerous with friendlies in the area. And what we're going to do is, once we're happy with the range, we're going to press this launch button, because we've got PH, Phoenix, we've got quantity of 4, and it's bright, so its master arm is on. And we're going to mark that as friendly. We're going to fire 2 Phoenixes. Oh, we've lost all the contacts. So I'm going to quickly clear and re-add track hold. That's a friendly group. Okay, so all the contacts have been lost. So what we're going to do is go TWS auto. We're going to manually reacquire some targets. Okay, now we're going to go Fox 3. We're only going to fire 1 because we're not getting a solid lock. And if we fire a Fox 3 in TWS auto, it will go to TWS mode. Now we've immediately lost that lock, as indicated by the X, but because we've told the radar to maintain track hold, it will keep looking for that target at where it should be if it doesn't move, which is not great, but sometimes will work. As you can see, it's actually diverging from the target a reasonable way. So that missile won't hit because we've lost track. So even though it'll go active, it won't hit. What we're going to do now is we're going to get a PDSTT on a target, or not. We're going to attempt to get a PDSTT. So I'm going to go doing that. We lost lock. So a PDSTT will guide a Phoenix like it's a Fox 1, which means you've got to maintain lock all the way till impact. So Fox 3, we still call it a Fox 3 even though it acts like a Fox 1. A Pulse STT will fire the missile active off the rails. So it will turn on its seeker automatically as soon as it leaves the rails, but because Pulse won't give it any guidance. So hopefully this missile will hit. So with a PD STT firing a Phoenix, the target will know... Oh, so we lost lock before impact. That missile is useless. The target will know as soon as we fire a PD STT Fox 3, because we guide it like a Fox 1. Now for this one, we're going to go Phoenix active and launch. So this one we won't actually need to maintain lock, because that missile went active as soon as it left our aircraft. So it should guide onto target itself. It looks like it is. And splash 1. Now there are other radar modes. We've got the MRL, Manual Rapid Lock-On, which is essentially a dogfight mode. Takes a lot of practice to get used to. But let's see if we can find any more. There's some more targets. So TWS auto. I'm actually going to get an STT on them. So when we've got an STT, should appear in this bar, and right in the middle there, the more, like, you've got to look at that to see how solid you think that contact is. So that's a friendly, so we're not going to attack them. To undo an STT, we just half action, or we go to any other radar mode. Friendly. Let's go to pulse search. So range to about 20 miles. Let's see where's some targets. So if we want to head west-southwest, we'll go hunting for some targets. Now to have a look at antenna elevation, this is where the antenna actually is. This is the center point of the scan. And this number in the middle is also the center point in degrees, which can be helpful. So we're seeing contacts out here. There's one. With pulse search, you've got to be careful. So that's a hostile. We're in Phoenix active, Fox 3. With pulse search, it will pick up terrain, so you do have to be cautious of locking terrain. Can also be used against ships. Pulse mode, so you can fire a Sparrow against a ship if you'd like. Speaking of Sparrows, we're out of Phoenixes. Let's select a Sparrow. Now, because we're in attack mode, we have this circle and this box. Now, for an optimal Sparrow shot, we want to get this box inside the circle. Similar to what the pilot sees up the front. So let's just watch this missile impact. Splash one. So we'll lose that STT. We'll attempt to gain another STT. Okay, so now we're going to search for another STT. We'll go RWS because it's nice and easy. There's a contact there. IFF it as friendly, so we'll break the STT. Okay, looks like all the hostiles are down. So we're just going to, for the sake of argument, pretend this is a hostile. So it's a target drone, that's what we're going to say. So we've got AIM 7s, we've got the H model selected, and we've got 2 of them. Now again, we've got the same launch zone info as with a Phoenix. So if we want to... we've got the box centered on the circle, which is good. We're positioned for an optimal shot. Oh, we've lost lock. So we'll search with a few more bars and a few less degrees of azimuth. RWS isn't bringing anything out. What about PD search? Pulse search. So I'm guessing we've possibly blown through all the targets. They should actually be right off 5,000 feet below us to our right. So now let's do some, have a look at when we're getting into ACM. So there's the targets. Okay, if you wouldn't mind going and mock dogfighting these targets, we'll do some, or any targets you can find. We'll give you some, we'll do some RIO radar stuff in ACM. So pilot's got an STT, we want to IFF. Single bar, that is hostile, the other way. So we've gone to TV mode, and we can actually, the FOV switch, with an STT the target will be locked with the TCS in slave TCS mode, at least, so we'll be able to see what we're firing against. Very helpful feature. So we can confirm that's a hostile, and we'll just wait for the pilot to decide to make the shot.
Fox 1.
So the standard procedure is if the RIO is controlling the radar, then the RIO will take the shot. The RIO can shoot Fox 1s and Fox 3s. If the pilot has the radar, which they will doing ACM, then the pilot will take the shot. Now, we saw that splash, so we're going to call that good kill. And now we're just down to sidewinders now, so we can't actually fire any more missiles, but we can help the pilot identify friend or foe. So that's coming back as hostile. Now, usually you've got different sorts of aircraft that are friendly and hostile, so you can do IFF visually via the DCS, but this is just a training mission, so they're all the same C-101s. So that is a hostile aircraft. We just gotta wait for the pilot again.
Fox 2.
And during a dogfight, the RIO is usually only looking in just after the pilot gets a lock to see if it's hostile or not, and then looking out behind, running your countermeasures. But because this is
Fox 2 again. First one didn't track.
Because we know this is a fully friendly, well, no one's going to try and shoot us down environment. I'm just staying heads down. Good kill. I reckon that's about enough. I don't think we need to go through guns. Unless you wanted to go gun some stuff, Hookie.
I'm all good. Unless you want to.
No, I think that's good enough, thanks. Thank you for all your help again. That's it for the video. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.